Hey guys, I thought I would start something new and do my weekend in reading video, which is basically like the weekend, which is weekend reads. A lot of people make videos like that, or they make current reading videos. So I'm gonna do my weekend in reading, but I'm also gonna talk about a little bit about what I did this weekend. I didn't do a lot. I didn't do a lot of reading this weekend. I did do some reading, but it was my grandma's birthday today, so we went in since we live in North Carolina and she lives in South Carolina, so it's only 3 hours. It only takes us 3 hours. So we decided the last minute to go. Well, I don't think it was. Well, yeah, I guess it was last minute decision to go visit her. Normally, we used to live in Maryland, and that's an 8 hour drive from there to South Carolina. So we weren't able so we weren't able to just take a quick weekend trip to visit her for her birthday. Those But this year we were able to, so we visited her, and I packed 4 books to come with me. Even though it was a quick weekend, I still had to bring 4 books with me. First, though, before I left, I finished reading Heartless because since this was a hardback edition, I didn't want to bring it with me. I decided I didn't want to bring it with me. I wanted to try to finish it before we left, or I would, finish it when we got back. I love this book. This is Heartless by Marissa Meyer, and in case you're interested, this is the story of the Queen of Hearts and how she became the Queen of Hearts. The basic premise of this story is the Queen of Hearts' name is Kath. She's the daughter of a matroness or marquise. I don't know how to say it. And the King of Hearts, has set his eyes on Kath, but she has no interested in him. At least not in a romantic way. But he wants to marry her, and her parents are putting all this pressure on her to marry him. But the thing is, she doesn't want to be queen. She wants to open up her bakery with her friend, who is also her maid, and just bake. And then, at the same time, the king is trying to, pursue her. This mysterious guy, this Joker, shows up and becomes the king's new Joker. And his name is Jest. And they immediately form this connection, and she starts kind of feeling drawn to him, and unfortunately, but this is unfortunately at the same time as when the king is interested in her. So our parents are pushing her to the king, but she's more interested in Jest. And it's an amazing story, and it's amazing origin story for the Queen of Hearts. I like what Marissa Meyer came up with. She is really good at retellings. Although this is technically not a retelling, because it's not a retelling of Alice in Wonderland, and there was no story of the Queen of Hearts. So it's not an actual retelling per se. But I really like the character of Kath. I think she's really cool and really interesting person, and the whole talking about baking made me hungry, and I kept picturing all the food she was making. And I also really like the character of Jest. I think he was really cool and really fun, and I like and I like all the different hints to the original Alice in Wonderland and Alice Through the Looking Glass storyline. And what really frustrated me is her parents. Kath's parents were driving me crazy. They kept just pushing her. It's like they were so selfish and did not care about what Kath wanted. Now I understand her having a hard time standing up to them. I get that. Not wanting to disappoint your parents, and the fact that she had a really overbearing and demanding mother who I think she basically wore the pants in that relationship. Although I think towards the end, like when they finally were getting fed up with Kath with Kath rejecting, not with rejecting the king. I mean, she didn't actually reject him, but when he they, her father was tired of them delaying it any longer and was like, no, you gotta marry this guy. They were all like, they basically made it seem like she had no other option. All they cared about was reputation. They didn't care about her. I felt they were very selfish and very, they liked their life, and they were like, and everyone was like, oh, you get to be a princess and everything, and have these beautiful dresses and live in the palace, you'll be married to the king. And yeah, I can understand the perks of being a queen, but if you don't want that, of course, this is kind of inspired by, medieval Renaissance period, so I understand women not wanting to live the life of, a peasant. And unfortunately, the way women's brains were wired is they had to, they were wired to be dumb almost, and, just look pretty and make babies. Women didn't have a lot of options. And I feel like it's so unfair. And me personally, I don't want to be a princess. I don't care about being a princess. If that means giving up your dreams and only, being the pretty face behind the king, and I understand, in A Song of Ice and Fire series, I can understand Cersei's behavior. I get that. I get why she's kind of a bitch. But, and then what really pissed me off is at towards the end of the book, when Kath finally is like, okay, I'll marry this guy. I'll marry the king. And her dad was like, are you sure you want to do this? You don't have to do this. And it's like, what the hell? You acted like she had no other choice. You are pushing this on her and making her feel like you have to marry this guy. You can't open up a bakery because it's not appropriate for women. And, they made her feel like she couldn't tell them about the Joker, that she was in love with the Joker and that she wanted to marry him instead. And then all of a sudden, right when they see that how this has affected her and how this whole situation has changed her in not a good way, and she's getting ready to marry this guy, it was all like, okay, you guys win, I'll marry the king. Then, all of a sudden her dad is like, you don't have to do this if you don't want to. It's like, seriously? Now you tell her that? Now when she's like, okay, I'll do this, and, it just pisses me off. I also liked, I liked all the other characters too, and I like, how they explained, why the Mad Hatter went mad, and they explained the whole Jabberwocky thing. They kind of did, a werewolf type situation with a Jabberwocky, which is really cool, and they did a lot of hints to other things, some of the things that were said were kind of, wink wink to the original Alice in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass storyline. And it made a lot of sense, and the reason why Kath becomes the crazy Queen of Hearts. That's all off with their heads. And as I was reading it, I was like, ooh, this person is this character, and this person is this character. Some of them they were quite obvious. Some of them, it was spelled out for you. The character of Hatta, you knew he was going to become the Mad Hatter. You knew he was meant to be the Mad Hatter. And then they had the Cheshire Cat and everything. But there was a character that I guessed was going to be I had a feeling she was going to be the Duchess. The Duchess that, she has she has the sneezing problem because her cook puts pepper and everything. And she has the baby that's a pig. I kind of guessed who that would be. It wasn't spelled out for you, but it probably, it wasn't, this character's gonna be this, but you kind of could tell. It was kind of obvious. But it was still really cool to, be like, oh, that's gonna be, and then I like how they did the whole mock turtle thing. I like how they had that, and they had, I remember, book tour, that I watched, Haley in Bookland, who is a huge fan of Alice in Wonderland, it's one of her, it's her favorite fairy tale kids book. She talked about, the writing style, and I agree. I could see what she was talking about, how the writing was very much, like, it wasn't all rhymey and, like, written for kids, but the way it was written, it had that whimsical feel to it that Alice in Wonderland has. And that's one I want to read it again. Which I still haven't. I originally was going to give it away to the used bookstore, but I decided to set it aside and put it in. There's a cabinet I have over there with drawers and stuff where I put my clothes, and the cabinet is full of a bunch of stuff like binders and notebooks and all that kind of stuff. And some of the books that I set aside that are more like children's books that I want to pass on to my nephews, and hopefully I'll have a niece too. Although I won't be content if Jessie just has the boys, my sister. So I set those aside, and Alice in Wonderland is in there along with Wizard of Oz, my paperback edition, because I have a hardback edition, like those nice fancy Barnes & Noble hardback ones that look like old-fashioned books. I have it's the first 5 books in Frank L. Baum's books about Oz. So I have that edition, and I decided to take out the paperback version of the original Wizard of Oz. And I really, and on a more visual note, I really like I said, I like how she described things, which was really cool, I could really picture it. But I also love this cover; it's so pretty. I mean, I wish at the time I got I had a subscription box when this book came out, but because subscription box costs a certain amount yearly, I have been avoiding asking my mom if she would be okay if I subscribed to one of those book boxes. But I wish I did have that edition, which was like the difference with that one is the cover is white instead of black. But this is really beautiful, and again, I'm glad that the paperback edition hadn't come out to any of our stores. So I had no choice but to buy the hardback edition. And this is such a beautiful and then look at the inside. I mean, look at this part. You have this little kind of checkerboard. It's like a card, like checkerboard / card design. You have this crown on one side, and then you have a jester hat on the other side. So pretty. Nothing on the inside, like Sarah J. Maas's books have. They have images on the inside, and I know that a lot of fantasy books have maps. If it's a fantasy world, I always really like those too. Let's see, is there anything? No, but So yeah, I read that one right before we left South Carolina. Left for South Carolina. I was able to get that done. It was a very quick read. I mean, not quick, but it didn't take me that long to read. So while I was driving down to South Carolina, the 3 books I brought with me. Well, the 4 books, but the other one I barely read. I read maybe 2 or 3 pages. I was gonna read it in the car before the sun went down because we went kind of towards the evening, and that's when we left. So it was dark, and I did bring a light with me, but I decided not to use it, and I never got around to it. But that was The Secret History. So I started reading this one because, like I said, my sister got me The Raven King for Christmas. So I read the first up to chapter 6. And what's great about these books is the chapters aren't that long. I mean, some of them are long, but some of them are only a few pages, so you can read a lot. You can get through these books really quickly. So this is the 3rd book, Blue Lily, Lily Blue, and I've heard this is the best one. That this is the favorite one for a lot of the fans. So I'm definitely eager to continue with this. And I also start I started this back in, these next two books I started back in December. I've been wanting to, ever since, like, I read back in November, I read Stars Above, so I was definitely eager to get back and reread the original Lunar Chronicle series. So I bought the first three books in paperback, and Winter is coming to our Books A Million in paperback this month. So I'm going to buy that as well, of course. But I'm on the middle of the second one, and so far I've read up to chapter 14. Scarlet Wolf has already been introduced. Cinder and Carswell Thorne are escaping from prison, and Scarlet has met Wolf, and he has offered to help her find her grandmother because some people from his original group, are the ones who kidnapped her grandmother. And then there's a little bit of Kai that I've read where he's kind of debating the situation and debating his feelings about Cinder and everything. I guess I should, most people have heard about the series, but if you haven't, it's basically a retelling of, it's like a sci-fi retelling of fairy tales, of 4 fairy tales: Cinderella, Little Red Riding Hood, Rapunzel, and Snow White. And in Cinder, the first one, that's the retelling of Cinderella. You are introduced to, it's set in New Beijing, and you are introduced to Cinder, who is half cyborg because there was a terrible accident where car accident where half her body was destroyed, so was badly damaged, so they had to give her cyborg parts. So she's living with her step family. And of course, as the Cinderella story goes, her stepmother and stepsister, because she has 2 stepsisters, but the one stepsister is actually like really nice to her and really likes Cinder and considers Cinder a friend. But her stepmom and other stepsister are really mean to her and make her do chores and bully her, and they're disgusted by her, because she's part cyborg. And she is also like the best mechanic in New Beijing. And one day, she and her friend Aiko, who is like the family's android, receive a visit from the prince, the emperor, or the prince. He's the prince at the time of New Beijing, Kato, I think that's how you say it. And he has his own android that needs fixing because it has important information. Which you don't find out until later that it actually is information on the lost princess Celine of Lunar, because this isn't, like I said, this is a sci-fi retelling, and we've had 4 world wars, but there are some people who have colonized to Luna, to the moon. They're called Lunars, and the queen of Luna, Queen Lavanna, who is a tyrant, and like all Lunars, she has the ability to manipulate and control bioelectricity. She has set her eyes on marrying the Emperor of New Beijing. It's the Asian Commonwealth. Because the world is divided into the Commonwealth of Asia, the European Federation, which consists of France and Spain and Russia and all those European countries except for England, because you also have the United Kingdom, and then you have Australia, and then the United States, the Republic of the United States, and Africa. I can't remember I think that's it. And so Queen Lavanna sets her sights on marrying the Emperor of Asia because he's the appropriate age, and he's of course not married and everything. And at the time, there is a disease has infected Earth. It's killing Earthens. And when she comes down to, I'm sorry, as usual, I'm doing like a poor job at summing this up. But when she comes down to Earth with the intention to marry Kai, because his father contacts the disease and sadly passes, so she sets her eye on marrying Kai, who's now the Emperor. And when he refuses her, she dangles in front of him the antidote to the disease. And but of course, like I said, he still refuses her. But he has his head scientist, Dr. Erlin, to interpret to see if this cure is actually legitimate. Meanwhile, Cinder's sister, her stepsister Peony, has contacted the disease. And when she does and is taken to quarantine, her stepmother decides that Cinder decides to send Cinder to go. She blames Cinder for Peony contacting the disease, and then of course Dr. Erlin finds out that Cinder, because she's a cyborg, she's immune to it, but the doctor also finds out that Cinder is lunar, so she might actually have the cure in her bloodstream to cure, Peony and everybody else. So he does all these tests on her, and then, and that's when she kind of, she keeps, and because of that, she keeps running to the prince, and he keeps asking her about, his android and everything. And then she finds out, of course, that the android carries information on Princess Selene, the lost Luna princess, who they believed had died in a terrible fire. Okay, so basically it's all about that. Like I said, I'm really poor at summaries, but I'm sure most of you have heard of that. So, like I said, I'm on the second book, which is about Scarlet, and her, and she ends up also being connected to the whole thing, the whole plot with Princess Selene and everything. And then I started this one as well, which is book 2 of the Fallen Kingdom series. I had already read book 1 last year, Fallen Kingdoms, so I figured it was about time that I started reading the second book, which this is compared to the Song of Ice and Fire series. It's like you have these feuding kingdoms, and it's told in multiple perspectives, and they're all trying to gain power. And there's this mysterious magic that everyone keeps hearing about that some of them don't believe in and are more focused on this war between these kingdoms. And some have reason to suspect that it might be legit, and the main characters are all kind of searching for it. So it's, political intrigue, medieval politics, and, there's a little bit of romance in there. And this is the second one, and I like the series. I know a lot of people were weren't sure about the series in the first book. They thought the first book was okay, and they were kind of interested, but I really enjoyed the first book, and I'm enjoying the second book so far. And this is definitely easier than reading Song of Ice and Fire series. I mean, I love the Song of Ice and Fire series, which, by the way, it's a lot easier to read the movie, to watch the TV show rather than reading reading Game of Thrones. But this is definitely a lot easier to read. The chapters are shorter, the print is bigger, for instance, although I could technically solve the problem by buying the bigger books. But I'm really enjoying this so far. It's has that grittiness of the Song of Ice and Fire series, but it's not as dense. Which, actually, speaking of that, that's what my mug I'm drinking my coffee from is from the Song of Ice and Fire series. I drink and I know things. That's what Tyrion the imp says. He's my favorite character. I just love him, and I totally have a crush on him. And then it also has on there the symbols of the wolf, the dire wolf, which is House Stark, the three-headed dragon, which is House Targaryen, and the lion. These are the three main. There are several other houses, like there's the Baratheon family, and their family crest is a stag, and you have the Tyrell family, which their family crest is a flower, and then you have um, the Martells. I can't remember what their family crest is. Maybe a snake or something. I don't know which. I mean, probably not, but it's the one that makes most sense. And then there's most sense. And then there's the Greyjoy, and I can't remember what they are. I think they're probably like a fish or something, because they live on the Iron Islands. And then there's the other family, the ones that the target that lion, which is the lion. That's the Lannisters, Tyrion's family. There's the family that the Lannisters always align with. There's the Boltons. There are a lot of families in that series. There's that family that the Lannisters always ally with. They're the I can't remember what their family name is. But I remember they were in the family that that the guy, the family patriarch, the head of the family. He's a really old guy, and he marries. He marries like his daughters and his granddaughters, and makes a lot of babies. He's just big. Although this past season he died. That's the thing about the Song of Ice and Fire series. A lot of people die in that series, so don't get attached to anybody. But so far I've been lucky, and like Tyrion hasn't died yet. He's gotten very lucky and survived, and Dany hasn't died. And yes, I like Daenerys Targaryen. I know a lot of people that she gets a lot of hate too, because they think she's like a Mary Sue character or something, or people get annoyed with her because people they don't. And then I like Cersei for being the bitch that she is. I like Sansa. She's another character that gets a lot of hate. And I like Arya. And I like Jon Snow. Now, Jon Snow, spoiler alert, he, at least on the show anyway, he dies, but he's brought back. And Varys has survived. So I've been pretty lucky. No one that I'm like totally heartbroken about has died. I mean, most of them are either characters like, except for the first character that died. I was kind of heartbroken about that, but I mean, but some, I mean, they're like, oh that sucks, but it's not like the end of the world for me. And then there's some characters that have. And then there are some characters I'm just really glad that they died, finally. I'm just like, yes. So, I read those. So, those are the books I've read. And like I've said, I technically did read a little bit of The Secret History. So, the other thing I've been doing is I have downloaded The Greatest Show on Earth, The Greatest Show, to my iPod. So I've been listening to that while I went down to South Carolina. Like the times when we were in the car, like when we drove to the restaurant, we took my grandma for her birthday, which it was really good. It was like, if you like Asian food, it was really good. It was like a Japanese restaurant. It's not one of the ones where they cook in front of you, but it was superb food and a wonderful atmosphere. And the woman that the restaurant that owns the restaurant, she is very very bubbly and very she will interact with her customers and will welcome them to her restaurant. And it's one of those hole in the wall type places, which usually that means they're really good. Like they're not generic or anything, they're really special. But it it was so good, and it wasn't too much. Like, we had a restaurant called Sakura, which is one of them was I think it's one of those chain restaurants, I think, where they cook in front of you, and the food was great and all, but they would give you a lot. That was a lot of food. So this one had the right amount of food, the right portions. And that was really, and like I said, for my grandma's birthday, she came, and the woman came out, singing. She performed "Happy Birthday" for my grandma. Okay, with this huge dessert there were nine of us, so it could have fed all 9 of us. It was really good. It was like this special ice cream on like honey bread. It was with like little chocolate with chocolate on it, drizzled all around it. I had a few bites. It was really good. And then we also, and what she does for, what thing that she'll do when she first, like, she'll make sure you are all satisfied with your meal. And what she does is when you first get there, she offers, at least for those that can legally drink, she offers the special drink with sake mixed with sangria. Now, I've never had sake, so I couldn't tell, but I just tasted sangria. It was, which was really one of the wines I actually like, because I don't like sweet wine. I mean, I like sweet wine. I'm very, like, that's, basically, sweet wine is the only wine I'll drink. But it was really, I don't know if all I tasted was the sangria. It was really good. And she also made sure that my younger cousins that are like still in their teens, they're younger than 18, had drinks too, not alcohol, like virgin drinks, of course. So that they could participate in the toast, because what she wants to do is have her customers, because she appreciates her customers and her patrons. So she had us do like a toast and basically welcomed us to our restaurant, and talked about how she appreciated our business and everything, but not in a like, oh, it's just another business. It was like a genuine appreciation of her customers. So like I said, the atmosphere was good, the food was great, the food was excellent. It was an amazing restaurant, and this is a restaurant in Summerville, South Carolina. I think it was Summerville. So if you live in, I don't remember what the restaurant is called. I wish I could remember what it's called. But if you live in South Carolina and you live near Summerville, then I recommend checking it out. Like I said, I don't remember what it's called. I wish I did. Maybe I will. If my parents get home early enough, then maybe I will ask them. And before I upload this video, I'll put it in the box, the down box below, the drop down box. If I can remember what that place is called. Yeah, it was a pretty good weekend. It was nice, and like I said, it takes only 3 hours to get to my grandma's house, so we were able to visit her. Like, we've been able to visit her a lot more than I used to, because, like, before, we would get down there to South Carolina, like, a few times a year, but that's because it was, like, an 8-hour drive, and my parents worked and stuff, although now they're retired, and then, I used to, of course, I would have school, and so my sister, and then she got married and moved. So, sadly, my sister can't get down there as much. Because it would be, I think it might be the same amount of time or less. Maybe a little bit less for her to get to South Carolina. But she has young boys, so it's a lot harder for her to make trips. So she's only able to go to visit people during like holidays and stuff. The major holidays. So the other thing I want to talk about, actually, let me see how long this video is. Okay, well, maybe not. Maybe I shouldn't. Well, maybe I can talk about it. Dang it. Oh, sorry, I accidentally opened up something. Okay. Well, maybe I can talk about it real quick. Well, maybe not. because this video is already getting pretty long because I ramble so much. So that's what I did this weekend. And that's the reading I did this weekend. So what are you guys reading right now? What are you guys reading right now? What have you done any books for Goodreads challenge? For me, for the Goodreads challenge, I've completed Heartless is the first book I've completed for the Goodreads challenge. Blue Lily, Lily Blue might be the next book. Scarlet and the other one might take a little while. So, but I'm hoping to get it done this month. So, like I said, what are you guys reading this month? Have you completed any books for the Goodreads challenge yet? Your Goodreads challenge yet? Anything else exciting that you did this weekend? Please feel free to share in the comments. And I will talk to you guys later. Alright, bye.